What's up, y'all? So it's a rainy day on the Runaway Ranch, and it's been rainy for several days. We've been catching up with the holiday, but we thought it would be the perfect time to step back and look at some questions that we've gotten come through a lot.
Like repetitively.
Yep. And they're also questions that we really haven't answered.
Now we're ready to answer them.
Yeah, now we're ready to talk about them.
So the questions that we receive over and over again have to do with the cost of our land, how we found our land, and how do we afford to do what we do.
We're Matt and Cass, a couple of adventure chasers seeking the roads less traveled in today's world. For the last 3 years, we've been living on the road. First, in our bus home Lady May, then our rad van Jolene. Our journey brought us through the wildest parts of the United States, from the crystalline springs of Florida to the incredible peaks of Idaho, and then spending 6 months internationally traveling all through Mexico. But today, we put the van in park to take on a new challenge: the building of a fully off-grid homestead in rural Tennessee.
So first off is how we found the land. Now, we didn't do anything too special for this. It was just a lot of research, a lot of looking, primarily with Zillow, land.com, and other websites like that.
If you know anything about us, once we get our mind set on something, we kind of hyper-focus,
Yeah.
so.
Currently doing that with the couch.
Currently doing that with a couch for the camper. That is all we researched for about 2 months.
Yeah, and so we actually ended up finding this, this property on Zillow.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of the one that everybody
Nothing
knows.
crazy.
Yeah.
So there's also land.com. There is like Facebook Marketplace, which is a really good place.
It's actually pretty good, Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, it's pretty good because you also get a lot of like private sellers through Facebook Marketplace.
Yep. And land auctions.
Yes.
And that is kind of key to what we'll go into soon. We didn't buy ours at auction,
No.
but it was kind of the result of an auction.
We were searching for about 2 months every single day.
Every day.
Every day. And we had a list of a bunch of different properties that we really liked, at least what we saw online that we really liked.
Yeah, because raw land is really hard. You
It's
kind of have
tough.
no idea what you're looking at.
It just looks like trees.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a list of like what we had interest in, but there just wasn't anything quite yet
And then
that made us rush.
Yeah, and then this property came up and it was such a good deal and it was in a great location and it was the acreage that we were looking for because we were actually thinking about going lower acreage to get within our price range. We just booked a flight.
Yeah, so
We just made it happen.
We were at our parents' house at the end of a little family vacation, about to go back to Florida. It came up and I said like, "Hun, I know this is crazy, but this is a really, really good deal." And the reason we're saying this is just like the housing market, like property moves.
Yeah,
Like, people are interested in land. So a lot of people are scared to just go ahead and do it. And we wouldn't have gotten this property if in that moment I said, "Hun, this is really interesting."
And we
redirected our flight.
The financial risk because we already paid for our flights and whatever. So we had to add that financial. We had to rent a car and we booked the flight.
From Charlotte to Nashville.
From Charlotte to Nashville, and we just made it happen because we really wanted to see this property. And before we actually saw this property, it was actually one of the last ones we saw, we started calling all those other properties that we wanted to see.
And that was the idea of flying into Charlotte and flying out of Nashville, is every property we were interested in looking at was somewhere between those two areas. So.
Yeah, so we didn't have like a particular place we wanted to be. Like, I mean, we had an idea of what we wanted, but we didn't like have like, this is the must place. We really wanted to feel it out when we got here. So I think that what's really important too, is having flexibility in your search is really important.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we actually started kind of with a more particular area of where we wanted to be, but quickly we found out that we couldn't really afford it there. So that's when we pivoted and we said,
that's it, we couldn't afford it, so.
Yeah, so let's start looking in different areas that we hadn't previously considered. So after seeing, I don't know, maybe 12 properties or so,
in 2 days.
Oh yeah, I forgot. It wasn't the matter of the entire journey of like 36 hours.
It was crazy.
We came on this one and it was wild. It was overgrown, and that's something else. Like if you're looking for raw land, and if you're looking for a deal, it's not gonna look like what you want it to look like. Because if it looks beautiful, then they're gonna charge a bigger price because they put that effort into making it look like that.
Making you see the vision. You have to be a little bit creative in seeing the vision of
Thankfully, we've converted an old bus, an old camper, and we're used to making things that weren't pretty at the time, pretty again.
Pretty.
So we got here, and actually, originally, our gut was like, oh, this isn't what we thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
You know, and
Which
that was
funny.
a bit of a letdown because the property drops off pretty quickly. You lose your flat land pretty quickly, and we said, okay, we just own a whole bunch of mountainside.
Which is great, but like, is that really what we want? So, until we walked down the hill and we saw our creek and we saw our waterfalls that you guys know about, and
none of that was listed.
None of that was listed.
There was nothing about waterfalls on this property. There was nothing about creeks. The overall arching ad said that this subdivision, which is all large properties, has creeks meandering through it, but nothing
about this
specific.
property having any type of waterfront. And we have some of the best waterfalls on the entire subdivision.
Yeah. So the point of saying that is like, you gotta, like if you're on a budget, you have to be able to bushwhack through things and really find your way around.
I mean, we were covered in ticks, head to toe.
Literally covered.
Like going through thorn bushes, like it was super overgrown.
It was like 94
Tennessee
degrees.
Summer,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It was not nice. But we came down to that waterfall and then that was it.
And once we saw that, we said, okay, let's go back up, see what flatland we have to work with, and play with our mind on how we can work around with what there is. And over time, we found that there's actually even more than we thought.
Yeah, which know that like as seasons change and stuff, you'll start to like realize what your land can do for you.
So that was on a Saturday. We called the guy that had it listed Saturday night and basically said, we are very, very interested, and asked him what's going on with it. And he said, I have had a ton of interest. Nobody has made an offer yet. He didn't work Sundays, so we knew that from that time Saturday night through Monday morning, we were good to sit and think. So we drove out, we saw we checked out all the surrounding area, which I think is extremely important. You want to make sure that just because the land's perfect doesn't mean the area for you is perfect either. Thank goodness it ended up being perfect for us. We have a very little town, but we do have our conveniences not too far away, which is really important, especially when you're building something from scratch. So we stayed in the smaller city that was like 30, 40 minutes out from here, then came back on Sunday to feel it again. To
just like feel like, see it again, be on it again. And that was when we were like, yep.
Yeah, that's it.
This is it.
First thing Monday morning, called him and said, hey, we'd like to put an offer in. And he said, that's great. I had somebody on hold, 3 people waiting to come see the property between Monday and Wednesday.
And just so you know, the guy's not going to take any less than what's the asking price.
Yeah, he was like, the guy will not wiggle on price. So
we didn't wiggle on price. We just paid what we wanted.
Speaking of price, that's a perfect segue.
Perfect segue. So the most asked question that we get, how much did your land cost?
How much was it? How did you afford it? That's $1 million property. I'd like to think it is, but it's not.
In my heart is $1 million property.
Yeah. So with the price per acre average in Tennessee, I mean, there has been banter in our comments of people asking how much, realtors jumping in and saying, well, by the average price of $5,000 to $10,000 per acre,
it's actually really
this is in the range of this, and we just haven't fed it into anything at all.
We haven't told anybody.
So for our approximately 32 acres, our price was $70,000.
Yay! So we were under 100K. Which,
well under 100K.
Well under 100K, which a lot of people can't believe.
Yep.
Like I said, we found this property on a good deal. And
to give you an idea, that's about $2.2 thousand, so $2,200 per acre.
Per acre.
Which is well under market value in Tennessee.
Yes.
Especially anywhere east of Nashville.
Yeah. So like I said, we had to move on the location a little bit because it wasn't exactly where we thought we wanted to be. So there's things that we had to give up to get this price, but also we just fell into a good deal and made the right decisions at the right time.
Right, and like we said before, like we saw a good deal, we friggin' moved. We didn't choke, we didn't waste time, we were like, we need to see this now.
And that was it.
So we did. And then we got here and we were like, ooh, it's overgrown and like doesn't look that great and this is really, really overwhelming. But we saw a vision. Mm-hmm. And another piece in that price to call out is we don't have electricity.
Yes.
We don't have water. We don't have any utilities. We're half a mile down a dirt road, so we're a half a mile away from any utilities. I think the guy that
land.
Yeah, I think the guy that sold it offered to run water and electricity for like $15,000 or something like that. But we turned it down because we wanted to be fully off-grid. It was, I mean, we'd rather save that money.
Yeah.
And
we love the idea of being off-grid and all of that goodness that comes with being off-grid. So
now, part of the reason that this was such a good deal was this was a larger tract of land that somebody either had bought or inherited. I don't know exactly what it was. They subdivided it into large lots, and it was all for sale at auction. And almost every lot at auction was bought up by an investor.
Yep.
Except for 3, I believe. I think 3 or 4 that weren't. And this was one of them, so it was an unsold property at auction, and that really, really, really helped our price point.
Yeah, because the guy just wanted to get rid of it.
Yeah, right? He just he's already made his money by selling, say, 20 of the 24 lots or something like that.
So he was just like, I'm gonna make it a good price.
Let me just get a good price that's gonna make me even more money, but he wanted to get out and just be done with owning anything here. So
now you know, that's the price. We paid $70K for our property. And the last thing is, how do we afford it?
So now you know it's not nearly as much as most people thought it was. So that's a big part of how we afforded it.
Yes, and then just like van life, like everyone is curious how you afford van life too, right? It's very, very similar. So
yeah, so one is like being willing to not live comfortably. The reality is, and this isn't true with everybody that does van life, it isn't true with everybody that does homesteading, but a lot of people, I would say the majority of the people that we met on the road and a lot of the people that we see living the lifestyle that we live now are willing to live way, way less comfortably than the average American is willing to live. And
that's the reality.
That affords awesome, incredible
flexibility.
Things, but like you do, I mean, we were running to a spring to get water, which means like we were rationing water, just like we were in the van.
You know, like there's different things that we have to give up to afford this lifestyle. And a lot of that is working with our hands. So our financial situation to get here all started 3 years ago when we decided to move into the bus.
Yeah, so we hand built a bus that was gonna be a camper. We moved into it full time. We hit the road, went back, saw the housing market, and said, why, when we know we want to travel in this bus, why would we have this house and this mortgage? So we sold the house that we owned, and by owned, had a mortgage on, at the height of the market. So even though we basically paid $0 off of our actual principal at that point, because of the increase in the market, we made a little starter chunk of change right there.
The whole time that we traveled on the road in the bus, Matt worked full time.
Yeah,
I worked part-time.
Not the entire time, most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah, so I had a very good job in tech, and what we did, this again goes to being willing to live uncomfortably. I had a pretty good salary, but we didn't live our lifestyle to that salary. No. We lived off of probably 30 to 40% of what my paycheck was, and we banked the rest.
Went in savings.
Yep, and that was, I mean, we were making decisions of like, no, we can't afford to go out to eat. Even though we absolutely
very much could.
Absolutely could.
Especially living with no mortgage.
No, we're not gonna stay at a campground to get hot showers and all this good stuff. We free camped the entire time, even though we had the means to not do that, with the idea that we wanted to capitalize on that time that we had to build up a savings.
Even though we didn't know what we wanted to do. We didn't know that this is what we wanted to do. We knew we just wanted to build up a savings. So in case we decided anything, we wanted to
I think we also
travel the world or whatever. We wanted to still have a means.
I think we got a taste of financial freedom and we're like, whoa.
This would be life-changing.
This is awesome. So once we had that taste, we were like, let's just like live minimally and save as much as we can. And that wasn't a huge amount, but it did allow us to purchase this property,
Absolutely.
You know, and give us the starter money to get up and running. So from that full-time gig that I had, we eventually, when we were traveling Mexico actually, made the decision for me to step out and start my own little contracting company where I do the same work that I was doing, but on a contract basis where I'm my own boss and only doing it part-time. So I started that in Mexico, and that is what I'm continuing to do today to help supplement our income.
And I'm still a virtual personal trainer, which I have been doing since we first hit the road. I had a studio back in Tennessee, but then as COVID and the world shut down, I made it happen, and I still do that to this day.
Yep, so she does that part-time, I do my contract work part-time, and then, what you're viewing right now, social media is another part of our income. I would love to say we've been making money on social media for a long time, but really we've only been making it here for a couple months, other than like a couple $100 here and there randomly before. But we really just started to make enough money to actually consider as income on social media.
And we decided that we wanted to do this, so we put our energy and focus into doing it.
And it didn't happen overnight. We were chugging away at our social media platform since we started building the bus. So almost 4 years we've been trying to build something that the idea all along was kind of just to build community and maybe one day make a little bit of money on it. But now, I mean, our hope is that we can kind of step away from our other jobs a little bit and pour
more energy and more time into this.
Yeah, so that's between YouTube, Instagram, and Patreon right now. That's our sources of income. Really, we make our money through YouTube when we do brand deals like partnerships and ads in our content. So thank you for watching those.
Yes, it means a lot.
Because that really is helping fund all the cool projects that we're doing
that we get to do here at the Runaway Ranch.
Yeah. So if you're looking for property, keep an open mind. That's the biggest thing that I could say is don't narrow yourself down to one little spot on the map, because it's gonna be hard to find property in one little spot of the map. And then just like, keep an open mind of what it can look like. Be creative, have an imagination, because that's really, really going to help.
And it doesn't have to happen overnight. You could buy the property and not do anything on the property for 3 years.
Absolutely.
Because that's, I would say, the more expensive than you think.
And if where you're looking for properties, I would highly suggest to look for a property, if you're willing to live in a camper, in an area that allows you to live in a camper, because it's a very affordable way to get up and running.
Yes.
Also, just do it. Like she said, it doesn't have to happen overnight. Absolutely not. It doesn't. But if something comes up, go for it. You know, like, that's how we got into van life. That's how we sold the house. It wasn't overthinking things.
It too much.
Yeah, you need to make a rational decision. You need to put thought into it, but at the end of the day, you're never going to make a change unless you make that change.
Personally decide to do it. So with that piece of advice, thank you guys so much for being here, supporting us, and watching our channel.
Make sure you comment below any questions you still have about our property, how we did this. If you have questions about what you're doing, we'll do our best to respond. But also, like this video, what we're gonna try to do is give you some informational content with questions that we see coming up over and over and over again, and with questions that are a little harder to respond to than just in a YouTube comment, and could be explained a little bit more detail. Yeah, exactly. So be on the lookout for that content. Let us know what you want to see. Please subscribe to our channel. Click the bell for notifications so that you know when we put a video out. It means the world to us.
We love you guys.
So much.
We love you guys.
Love you guys. Cheers. Cheers, fam.
Cheers.